Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in for another episode of the Spin Zone. This is coming to you courtesy of the Daily Bread Network on YouTube. So if you haven't yet, please give that a subscribe. Please give us a like. Please give us a share. We do appreciate the love. So welcome back. We had a short slate yesterday, and the night kind of played out how we had discussed. We discussed Flaherty, said that I didn't see it with the over, and went pretty comfortably under. Didn't end up paying the juice for that. It's a tough sell for that to drink that much juice, even though. Especially with the bottom three of the Astros lineup. And that's kind of getting into what did we learn from yesterday. The Astros 7, 8, 9 hitters across multiple games this year have just been metrically and just overall just kind of blah. And so it made it really, really hard to do anything to be on that side. But the under for Flaherty did hit. On the other side, though, Ronel Blanco. So I know that I had said that you know we had some interesting whiff metrics and some contact metrics in the Tigers lineup. They made a change late. They took out McKinstry and put in Colt Keith, and that ended up being the difference because Blanco did get Keith, and he actually and finished. If you did play the under, I said I wanted to wait for a lineup. Unfortunately, we did play that one for a half a unit, so it wasn't too bad. But he did get to 6, and unfortunately, Keith was one of the ones that got him there. The big one though was Spencer Torkelson. Actually, Spencer Torkelson and Javi Baez. Javi Baez, man, just when you think that the man is making progress, if you watch that game, he just hacked and whiffed at everything. Blanco threw a few changeups that were just miles, like almost non-competitive pitches, and he's just out there just hacking away. Same old Javi. I said this in VIP. I said same old Javi Baez. And so unfortunately he regressed to the mean last night. But the rule held true is that when you have a lineup or when you have a line of 5.5, especially 4.5, even sometimes 6.5, you can have a number of guys who can strike out once. If a guy sees a pitcher 3 times, strikes out once, it's not the biggest deal in the world. What you can't have is you can't have multiple strikeouts. If you have multiple guys that strike out multiple times, it just and you're on and under, it just pushes you up against everything else. And that's kind of what happened last night. So, Keith's strikeout was kind of one of the straws that broke the camel's back, but it was by no means the only reason. Torkelson, Dingler, and Baez all struck out 3 times. Blanco got Torkelson for sure multiple times. And, I give Blanco credit. His changeup had not been working to the level that it was last night. It was biting. There were, like I said, there were a few where like the one that Baez missed on, he just reached like he basically like almost stepped on home plate and reached all the way across and tried to hit a pitch that like I firmly believe that like a freshman in high school could have seen. But the point here though is that Blanco's changeup was working last night, and we talked about how he doesn't have an overpowering fastball. He doesn't. He's not going to kill you with heat. He's going to get foul balls on his fastball, and then he's going to throw that changeup and the slider around the corners and get you to swing and miss by the change of pace. And unfortunately, the Tigers did last night. So that got hooked. And then lastly, going back to last night, Dustin May started off just fantastic. I talked about how his outs prop was up and how Glasnow only threw an inning. And so how those two kind of correlated, and they correlated with an overlook. The problem is that after the third inning, because I watched this whole start. After the third inning, because the first inning he had 1 strikeout on 10 pitches. Second inning, 2 strikeouts on 22 or 23 pitches. I mean, he was just, or I'm sorry, after the third inning, he had 2 strikeouts after about 30 pitches, still in good shape. The problem was is that he just lost control of the zone and just kept trying to overthrow it. Early in the start, his velo was up. I actually texted Sharpie this last night. As I said, man, his velo was up on all his pitches, and not by a little either. It was up by over a mile an hour. His spin on his breaking pitches was up by 120 RPMs. He was humming. It was in good shape. The problem is that he lost the strike zone. Now, there were a few calls 50-50, but obviously when you tell people that they might want to consider an over, you're biased, and so you want those calls. There were a few 50-50 calls that he lost out on, including one for ball 4 that was, I believe, against Wagaman. I'm pretty sure it was against Wagaman, and that one just I don't know the man as well as some Dodger fans do, but just looking at his face, you could just see him, he'd do the like this, and it just looked like it really, really messed with him mentally because he had strike 3. He had strike 3 on Wagaman, and I believe he actually, it looked like, and I know the box isn't official, but it looked like he had Simon too, and then ended up losing him. So in the end, little things like that can add up. I never blame an umpire. Well, okay, I almost never blame an umpire, but I never try to blame an umpire. There were plenty of other 2-strike counts that he gave up contact on. So it's not like it was, like I'm going to say like it's the ump's fault. It's just like when, like I'm not going to say like it's the ref's fault that a basketball or football team lost. I mean, think about over the course of a 60-minute or 40-minute, 48-minute game or 9 innings. No, like I hate that. I hate that attitude. I hate that thought. So, but he tried to overthrow stuff, and kudos to the Marlins because they've been chasing all year. They've been chasing over the last few weeks for sure, but they didn't chase last night. So didn't chase last night, and May just lost command. He lost control of the zone, and while we would have liked to have seen him gone out there further, especially if you were on the over, I think that I always talk about how when I go with the Dodger pitcher, there's always the possibility that they get Daved, and Dave Roberts being the manager. If you're in VIP, you know what I'm talking about. Is that just Dave has a plan, Dave has analytics, Dave has metrics, and Dave sometimes just makes decisions where you're like, wait, what? Why are you pulling this guy out? And that's what I call getting Daved. But when Dave did come to get him last night, even though at the time he had only thrown 83 pitches and had gone over 90 twice already this year, it was time. They were starting to get to him, and he couldn't get anybody out. So, the end was near anyway. And then, shout out to Banda too for blowing the save because he's on my fantasy team. So that was a great start to the week, but that's a different story. Elsewhere, the other one I want to talk about is, oh man, one of these times I knew he was going to do this. I just didn't know it was going to be against the Yankees. But Tamayuki Shigano, if you hadn't seen him, just does not just. You look at his pitch mix and he just does not look like he's got major league stuff. I mean, his fastball is like 93, 94. He's got like a sinker. He's got below average spin. He throws junk balls and, was averaging like 3 strikeouts a game. Just absolutely murked the Yankees for five innings, 5 hits, 1 walk, 8 Ks, and like kind of looked like Cy Young out there. And, the thing that he was doing was he was throwing early strikes. And that's something to pay attention to whenever you have a pitcher that is going against the Yankees. The reason being is because when they swing, they do have a number of guys whose zone contact rates are pretty bad. They have a couple good ones, but their contact rates are not what you'd expect for a team that's 17-12 and leading the AL East. But when you don't throw early strikes, when you're going to dance around the zone and pitch around them, that's when you get into trouble because that's when they're looking to swing and that's when they're loading up to swing. But Shigano pounded the zone early, getting them in those pitchers' counts. And when you get the Yankees in pitchers' counts, you can get Ks. So not that I'm saying that I want to look to back Shigano. Not that I'm saying that like this is all of a sudden like a renaissance for a pitcher like him, nor do I want to just automatically go bet overs on the Yankees. But it is something to look to pair together is that a pitcher that pounds the zone early, that has a high first strike percentage, because the Yankees overall, their swing metrics are kind of meh from a contact perspective. They don't chase very much at all, and their swing rate in the zone is right about league average, including a few that are significantly under. So I'm looking for a pitcher that's going to pound the zone and get early strikes because the Yankees put themselves in pitchers counts a lot. And when they get in pitchers counts, their strikeout percentage, as most teams do, does increase exponentially. So that's what we learned from last night. That's what I learned from last night. Wanted to pass that along to you before we go to the pitchers for today. Want to give a shout out to the chat. Xavier Johnson, another beautiful day for some baseball. I agree. Welcome in and thank you for joining. Appreciate you, my guy. I know you're in here a lot. Same thing with Mario. Appreciate, man, I appreciate you. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Appreciate the love you give us. I'm happy to do it. Love sharing this info. So thank you, and thank you for joining. Roger is here as well, always with us. Welcome in, Roger. Says, morning spin, it's Dinger Tuesday. All right. I like it. I like it. I like it. If you have any home run props that you wanted to share, Roger, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'll put them up for people. Adams Digest, my guy. Welcome in. Welcome in. And go get him. My guy always joins when he can. Welcome in as well. All right. So 3 pitchers to talk about today. Some other looks and leans. There's a lot of guys going. There's a lot of good guys going today. It was kind of tough to pare this list down to only 3. So there's a lot of notable guys going today. But the first one I have to talk about is the bane of my fucking existence when it comes to strikeout props, Mr. Carlos Rodon. He gets the Orioles tonight. He's striking people out at a 31.5% clip. This first pitch is at 6:35 Eastern time. And you have a very peculiar, almost a pick-me line. It's almost a pick-me line of 6.5 at plus 114 with an under 6.5 of minus 146. All right, so let's get into Rodon here. Rodon has been the kind of pitcher, Sharpie and I talk about this on the regular, is that it's when it's an opponent or a lineup that you expect him to murk, he sucks. But when it's an opponent or a lineup that you don't expect a lot of strikeouts from, he torches them. So case in point would be at Cleveland last start, super low strikeout percentage against Rodon, and he just goes out and just gets 21 outs and torches them for 8. Of course he does. The Rays had a really good strikeout percentage against him, including multiple projected dead spots in their lineup at Tampa. It's not really at Tampa, it's at Steinbrenner Field, but still an away game. 6 innings, torches them for 9. No big deal, right? And Rodon has just absolutely torched this line so far. He is 5-1 to this number, averaging 7.5 strikeouts. So why are they making it so damn easy to bet on the over? The home and road Yes, could play a part in it, but I will tell you on the regular, books don't really look at that. They don't really factor that in a huge deal. It's past history, it's trends, and it's averages. And the main reason why that is because that is what so many casual bettors look for. So many casual bettors, you would look at this and you would see the only time he didn't hit this line was on April 2nd against the Diamondbacks when he was at a 5.5 and he got 5. He's averaging 7.5 strikeouts. He's been in a 6.5 4 starts in a row. He's eclipsed it by at least one every single time, and now we're getting plus money against a team that isn't the best when it comes to striking out. So the line is a little bit peculiar to start. Hits and walks are about where they should be, as are earned runs. So nothing really to glean from there. I'm going to bring the swing metrics chart up here in just a moment so we can see where do the Orioles rank. And these metrics are as of yesterday, and so we can see that the Orioles, first things first, is they don't chase as a team. Don't chase, but don't make contact when they do. And their overall zone numbers, a little bit below average from a zone contact perspective. Now, I go to the projected lineup as it stands right now, and I do see for the Orioles, I see that we have 2 lefties and 7 righties. Now, the 2 lefties for this one is an average contact person, that's Gunnar Henderson, and the other one is an ultra contact person, that would be Ced Mullins. Ced Mullins usually leads off against right-handed pitchers. Again, super high contact, super high, super high disciplined guy. But then you go and you look at the rest of this lineup and you see like Rivera, Mateo, you see Carlson down there, Urias. None of these guys are very special. And a lot of these guys have chase contact under league average. Why is that important? Well, the first thing is Rodon does not operate in the zone. He can get guys in the zone when he needs to. His four-seam fastball runs at about 95, 96, but Rodon is only in the zone 42.9% of the time. It's almost 7% under pitcher average. And it's for good reason, because when he's throwing that slider, it's nasty. Chase contact rate is only 40.6%. So you pair that against the O's, and you see that as a team, they have a 26.5% chase rate over the last few days, or I'm sorry, or last few weeks, I should say. Then I go and I look at some of their individual metrics, and I see that there is at least a decent amount of chase in this lineup, especially towards the bottom. So, I see that, like, for example, even though it's only on 85 pitches, if they are going to put Mateo in this lineup, even in the 9-hole, he chases 50% of the time and he makes contact only 45% of the time. I mean, that's a strikeout waiting to happen. Then you go and you look at some of the other guys with Rivera and with Carlson, and you see that Rivera chases above league average slightly, but above league average, makes contact very, very little. And as is the case with a lot of the guys in the bottom part of this lineup. So if this is the lineup that we are going to get, I'm interested to see what the line does after the lineup is released. The other thing that we're going to get is we are going to get Ryan Addington behind the plate. So if we get Ryan Addington behind the plate, he is slightly slanted from towards being a pitcher's umpire. So he does carry a 23.2% strikeout rate. That's above umpire average, and strikeouts in games that he umps can go up by as much as 3%. So Addington is an umpire that you want. Now, it depends on where this lineup actually lands, because right now the projected lineup and where the line is sitting with getting plus money, and yeah, it's on the road, but you getting plus money for the 6.5 just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. So is it a pure pick me line? I don't know. I want to see what the O's do with their final lineup construction, but you saw what a left-hander did to this Orioles team on Sunday when they had a rather bleh lineup. Now, granted, Adley wasn't in that lineup. I'm sure he'll be in tonight, and he's got some really great contact metrics. But if they do this, I want to see what the line does before I make any final decisions. So you even look at the past history, and you see that even if Adley is in, Rodon's gotten him 2 out of 5 times. He's gotten Gunnar Henderson 3 out of 6 times. He's gotten Rivera 3 out of 7 times. So there are a few guys in this lineup that Rodon has struggled to strike out. Mountcastle 1-5, Laureano, small sample size, 1-4. So I really, really want to see what this lineup's final construction is. But I will tell you is that on the surface, this line just looks peculiar because of how much Rodon has absolutely smashed this line. And I will also tell you, not that I want to dissuade you from playing the over in this one, because chasing plus money is always something that I have interest in. But when Rodon has always been the kind of pitcher, when you think he's going to torch a line is when he sucks. And when you think that he's going to struggle to hit a strikeout prop, that's when he torches them. It's just been the way that he is. It's why he made my Rodon. It's why the Rodon list for me in VIP was named after him, because I couldn't trust him no matter what the circumstances. But just trying to arm you with the information that you need if you're planning on playing Carlos Rodon tonight. I will also tell you, if the lineup is close to the projected and you want to play it, I wouldn't mess around and take a juiced 5.5. That's not what Rodon's done this year. I mean, you look at his totals in each game, regardless of opponent location: 8, 9, 8, 8, 5, and 7. So there's really no need to pull him down to 6. It's either you're going to play the over, or you're going to, or if this is the projected lineup, I'm either playing the over or I'm laying off. It's one of the two. If we get a different lineup construction, then I'll have to reassess. So that's what's going on with Carlos Rodon. Before we move on, Xavier, I see your comment about Shota. We will talk. He's not one of the 3, but we will definitely talk to him. Prince Jazz wanted to welcome in. Good morning as to you, my guy. Same thing with trying to rob FanDuel. And Roger, I'll put your prop up in just a moment after we get done with these 3. All right. So that's my good buddy, Carlos Rodon. He's not on the list that was named after him this year, which means are guys that I don't play no matter what. But he is a guy that I intently study because he can have a wild fluctuation in results. Next one, we get an opening day rematch. We get Zach Wheeler, this time getting the Nationals at home, where he's been absolutely lethal this year. 31.5% K rate for the season, gets the Nationals at 6:45 p.m. Eastern time, with a line sitting at over and under. Oops, that should actually be. Actually, let me get that edited, because that should be under 6.5. All right, there we go. Under 5, 6.5, over 6.5, basically right at about the same price. All right, so we look at Wheeler and we see that for this line, the only team that he hasn't even touched this against and hasn't even come close is against the Cardinals on the road. The Cardinals are one of the hardest teams to strike out in Major League Baseball. We actually cashed a under on Nick Martinez last night in VIP. They're incredibly difficult to strike out. They're especially difficult to strike out against righties, and they're even more difficult to strike out against righties that don't throw velo. Now, Wheeler does that, but you look at his other totals, and whether it's been divisional, whether it's been non-divisional, I mean, 9, 13, 10, 7, 8. So this line is a little bit peculiar because he did hit him for 8 on opening day in Washington, and now gets them again a month later, and we're at a bettable 6.5. Again, another peculiar line. The outs prop is at the 18.5 that it normally is. Hits and walks and earned runs are all what you would expect. Now, with Wheeler, Wheeler is a guy who does operate in the zone more than what you'd think given his strikeout rate. 52.8% in the zone, which is above pitcher average. He also allows, as you would expect from a guy with this strikeout rate, 76% zone contact, 47.1% chase contact. Both of those are elite, are close to the top of the list. Wheeler's a strikeout guy. There's just no two ways around it. He also has ample plate appearances against this team, 170 plate appearances and 44 strikeouts for a strikeout rate of 25.9%. Now, with Wheeler, with his projected outs, with his projected plate appearances, everything just looks kind of right down the middle here. So it would indicate, I think, probably 6 for sure. But is the opportunity there to get 7? So when you have Wheeler, what you need or what you want, if you're going to take an over, I think, is you want a limited amount of zone contact. So we go over to our Nationals team and we see that number one is they're not swinging in the zone, at least over the last few weeks. But what they do, they make contact. Now, the problem here is if you're going to take against Wheeler and you're going to put yourself in pitchers' counts, this man is over 50% K rate when he gets guys in pitchers' counts, specifically when he gets guys 0-2. It's ridiculous. Okay. He's having damn near a Cy Young start to the year, even though the season isn't that old. So I look at the Nationals lineup, and as of right now, the projected is that they are going to overload this with lefties, 7 lefties and 2 righties, the only 2 righties being Dylan Cruz and Jacob Young. That would be smart to do because Wheeler K's lefties at 29.6% and righties at an absolutely absurd 39.4%. So of those people that are in the lineup, I go and I look at where we are from a zone contact perspective for Wheeler. So Abrams is good at contact for everything. He's projected to lead off. Wood and Garcia are pretty decent actually Garcia is really good from a zone contact. So you got 3 lefties with good zone contact. Not that Wheeler can't get them, but past history in zone contact says maybe he won't, or maybe it'll be a little bit tougher. Lowe is projected to bat 4th. He's above average in zone contact. Josh Bell is below. Keibert Ruiz is a high contact guy for everything. Then you get to 7, 8, 9, and Dylan Cruz is right about league average, but his chase contact is just absolutely blah. And his chase rate has gone up recently. So that's definitely a strikeout candidate. Jose Tena is a guy with a little bit more limited history, but he does make great zone contact. And Jacob Young is pretty much average on both. So when you run those numbers, now you have to dial that back a little bit because that's against all pitchers, and Zach Wheeler is not all pitchers. Zach Wheeler, when his stuff is working, is just absolutely phenomenal. Aside from the fact of his 4-seam fastball, which he can run up to like 96, 97, one of the reasons why Wheeler is so effective is that I talked about some pitchers working around the clock. Wheeler works diagonal like this. So his cutter, his changeup, and his 4-seamer all run at different speeds, different spin rates, different spin patterns, and they all run in that 12-3 range up here. Then he attacks you the completely opposite way with his curveball and his sweeper, which operate in the 7-9 area on a clock. So he attacks you diagonally here and makes you have to pay attention all across the zone because he'll throw any pitch on any count, and that's what makes him so effective. And especially when you have a 4-seamer that runs at 95, a sinker at 94, and a cutter at 91, makes it really, really hard to adjust speeds. And then, oh, by the way, here comes in a completely different direction, a splitter here, but a curveball and a sweeper at like 81 to 83. When you can change speeds like that, and you can change directions like that and go completely opposite in the zone and clip corners, you're a lethal pitcher. That's one of the reasons why Wheeler picks up so many strikeouts. He does have the ability to rear back and just barrel it past guys. That happens. He can do that, but he gets a lot of his strikeouts by going in those diagonal patterns like this with his breaking stuff and with his fastball. And the change of speeds confuses hitters. It confuses them and it freezes them. So you know, that's why Wheeler is not like other pitchers, but I do see a lot of zone contact in this lineup. Now, will they actually go with this lineup? Couldn't tell you. And a number of guys that are in this projected lineup have at least somewhat decent K history against Wheeler. So you have Keibert Ruiz, 5 Ks and 27 plate appearances. You have Josh Bell is K'd 12 times, but it's in 51 plate appearances. You have a few other guys like Jacob Young is 1 for 6. So there are a few potential spots, but here's what I'll tell you. Zach Wheeler has just been so absolutely lights out lethal at home. You know he's going to throw 100 pitches. You know you're going to get your money's worth out of him. The Phillies are not afraid to ride him over 100 at this stage of the game. So you really can't look at an under here. It's so tough for me to look at an under here. Will I be on the over? I'm going to need to see a lineup for sure. I'm going to need to see a lineup, and I'm going to need to see what the line does after this lineup is released. But I'll tell you, if you have to play it now, over is the only way to go with Wheeler, just because of how absolutely dominating he has been at home. But just know that the line looks a little peculiar, that we're getting a very, very bettable over again for a guy who, with the exception of one start and at home this year, has just been absolutely dominant. All right. On with our last pitcher, a guy that we would normally be talking about just go over or nothing, but Mr. Jacob deGrom. Mr. Jacob deGrom gets the Athletics on a back-to-back. So his last start was out in, well, I guess it's not Oakland anymore, Sacramento. 23.9% K percentage for the year. This game first pitches at 8:05 p.m. and we're hanging an over and under 6.5, pretty evenly juiced. Now, I still get questions to today about what's wrong with Jacob deGrom. And there's nothing fundamentally wrong with Jacob deGrom. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. It's just that he's not the automatic, like, blaze by you at 100 miles an hour and have like 6 strikeouts in like 36 pitches, etc., like you were used to seeing when he was with the Mets. He's a little bit different guy since coming back from injury. So to this line this year, deGrom is 1-4. The only time he hit it was against the Dodgers at home. And he gets an Athletics team that is only striking out 19% of the time against right-handed pitchers. So on a back-to-back, it normally would favor the opponent because they're used to seeing him. They just saw him 5 days ago. And so how much different can he be? What different stuff can he do? I'm not so sure about that one this time. This is one that looks a little peculiar, but for the opposite reasons as Wheeler and Rodon, because with that 6.5, when he only hits 6, you would expect it to be a little different juice. I'm not going to go out and say that it's a pick-me line, but I would expect a little bit different juice for a team that's striking out so little, even on the road against right-handed pitching, a team that only got 6 against last start, and then 5 days later, they see him again. So when I say there's nothing fundamentally wrong with Jacob deGrom, I mean it, because you look at his overall numbers and yeah, I guess his velo on his fastball is down a little bit, but when you're throwing 97 and you can run it up to 99 and 100, is that being, I say, down at 96.7? That's just fine. His whiff rate on his fastball is down. So that is one thing to pay attention of note, is that he's still able to rear back and just blow it by guys. He's not as able as he was in the past. Slider, changeup, curveball, all those look pretty normal. The overall velo for him is slightly down, but overall, he's not necessarily pitching a whole lot different than he did in past years. DeGrom works basically at like a half moon on a clock. So his breaking stuff typically works over here in the 12 to 8 range. And then his fastball and changeup work over here in the 1 to 2 range. So not really a guy that attacks low in the zone. He likes to pitch high. He likes to go across the top of the zone like this, and that's where he gets swings and misses. So for DeGrom tonight, with his contact metrics this year in the zone, 52.3% of the time with a 78.9% K rate, and that 52.3 is one of the highest marks in his career. The only time higher was last year when he was also in Texas, because when he was with the Mets, he spent a lot of time out of the zone. His zone rates for each year with the Mets were like 45, 46, 45, and was making guys try to chase a lot more. Not so much in Texas. He's throwing a lot more in the zone now, and that's one of the things that's led to less strikeouts. So you take a little bit off your fastball, which is a pitch you usually just blow people away with. You're in the zone more than trying to make people chase. It's not really like a hard equation about why strikeouts could go down. So we look at the Athletics, and we see that overall their contact metrics pretty average across the board. The only thing here really would be their zone contact, which is slightly below. And then I go and I look at what their projected lineup is, which as of right now is 3 lefties and 6 righties. DeGrom for the year is striking out righties a little bit more than lefties. It's only at 22.6% for lefties, but it's not something to be horribly concerned about. It's just something to pay attention to. So I am looking at zone contact for this Athletics lineup, and what I see is Butler, who's predicted to lead off, is under league average. Rooker is under league average. I have Langoliers is not. Langoliers is good. Soderstrom is above, and then you have Wilson and Blade are both good. Then the last 3. Which as of right now are projected to be Urias, Kurtz, and Urshela, all are under. And even though it's only 60, a small sample size, Nick Kurtz's zone contact rate is just an absolutely abysmal 52.4%. So you have a lot of opportunities at the bottom of this lineup, if this is what they run, for DeGrom to pick up strikeouts. Not so much in the middle, but I would say Butler and Rooker, yes. Langoliers, Soderstrom, Wilson, Blade, you might get a 1 or 2 from there, and then you can get the bottom 3. So even if of those of 7 through 9 and 1 and 2, if this is what they go with, if you project 3, 4, getting to 7 isn't that big of a jump. So it's peculiar that you would set a line like this. Is that for a guy that hasn't hit this mark a ton, actually only once this year, against a team he's facing back to back? Sometimes you can look at it and say, okay, is it name recognition just because people will still bet, Jacob DeGrom in the Athletics? But if you're going to do that, then you're stuck in like 2022, 2023, because it's a different Athletics team and it's a different DeGrom team. So I have a lean on the over for this one. I've liked a lot of what I've seen with DeGrom's contact metrics, with just a lot of what he's doing this year. He's a different pitcher. He's not a guy who's going to try to make you chase a ton and then is just going to rear back when he needs to and just blow 99 by you. He does still have a good fastball, but he's trying to pitch a lot more technical now and is starting to pick up steam for it. So I do have a lean on the over here. I want to see what the lineup is, but especially if we get this lineup, like I said, Butler, Rooker, Urias, Kurtz, or Shallow, all of them can be strikeout candidates. So that is where we're at with Jacob DeGrom. All right. Those are the 3 that I was going to talk about today. So I'm going to go other looks, sides, totals, questions. I did have a question earlier that I do remember. Xavier Johnson asked thoughts on Shota strikeouts today. Yeah, he is on my list to dig a little bit deeper on, because Shota today gets the Pirates, which you automatically assume over. It's kind of hard to bet anything but the over against the Pirates. The 5.5 is a number that for the year he has hit twice in a row, but before that has not hit, did not hit before that. One thing you need to know about Shota too is that he did change the way he pitches this year. There were a lot of changes that the staff made with him in the offseason, and his pitch mix did change as well. So he's been getting used to that, and it's starting to come to fruition now. There are actually a whole bunch of articles that I read about it because I wanted to see if I could find a play for the opening game in Tokyo. And they have changed a lot of things with his overall, just the way he pitches and his pitch mix. And he's really taken to it. A lot of times Japanese pitchers can be very finicky. They can be finicky when they don't get 6 or 7 days or 5 or 6 days rest instead of 4, which you get in MLB. They can be finicky when you try to limit their pitch mix, because a lot of Japanese pitchers like Yu Darvish and like Yamamoto and guys like that, a lot of them just throw like 7-8 different pitches. But Shota's really taken a liking to it, and he's really tried to adapt his style to American baseball, and it's starting to come to fruition. So I do have a note to look at for this one. If you have to play it or wanted to play it now, definitely would take a look at the over. And then Roger having one of his home run props, Dinger Tuesday. I really like Teoscar Hernandez versus Sandy at plus 380. Yeah, Sandy operates in the zone a lot, and his fastball doesn't have the same velo that it used to. And if Teoscar gets a hold of one, that can go a long way. Max Muncy might make sense as well, because a couple of those guys, if they get a hold of anything zone that's like under 96, can just absolutely launch it. So Cover Kings, what's up, my guy? Saying 1 unit on Reese Olson under 4.5 Ks at minus 130. Astros are a high contact team. That makes sense. And you want to get in on Wheeler and buy down to 6 to pair with someone. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I might be able to go with that one. It's going to depend on what the lineup is. Just I personally am probably either just going to dump it, or I'm just going to play straight over on this one. It's just really hard for me to do anything fade wise with Wheeler at home. Really, really hard for me, just because of how dominant he's been, and the fact that he's been, and in fact that, like, as their ace, he's going 100, he's going 95 pitches to 100 pitches. So it's a lot of chances. Kid Keon, welcome in, my guy. Says, how do you feel about Freddie K's or Gore's K's? Yep. I told you there's a lot of pitchers today. Freddie Peralta gets the White Sox. So with Freddie, the one thing that you have to pay attention to here is that he's been rather wild on the road, and I think that this line is kind of set accordingly for that. He's only hit this in one road start so far this year, and you look at the White Sox, and it's their zone contact rate that's bad. Their chase contact, which is what Freddie thrives on and what Freddie needs, is actually pretty good. So I think the line is set where it should be. Now, there are a few guys in this White Sox lineup, specifically at the 6 through 9 spots, where if they are in, and I'm going to see who it is right now, Vargas, Baldwin, and Amaya. If it's those three, I can certainly potentially get behind an over. And then Mackenzie Gore, I have a note, and I put this on a few guys each day, which is dig deep on this one, because Mackenzie Gore gets a rematch where he just, obliterated. Mackenzie Gore over 5.5 on opening day was actually the very first play that I gave out with Sharpie for the season. So the very first thing that I gave out for the entire season was Mackenzie Gore over. I guess I didn't need to even go over 5.5. I should have said over 12.5 because he murked him for 13. Now, will he get 13 strikeouts tonight? No, especially not on the road. But Mackenzie Gore has really, really tightened up his delivery. He talked about it in the offseason about all of his metrics, about his windup, about his delivery, about being more pinpoint with accuracy to reduce his walks. And it has really come to fruition because he's only averaging 1.5 walks per game. And that's really important against a Phillies team that just has a number of guys in their lineup that will not chase. Overall, for the last 2 weeks, 29.1%, which is 2% under league average. And they have a number of guys who just won't chase. And what Gore did the first time was he just pounded the zone, let them take pitches, and then just started throwing that wicked curveball. So I am going to dig pretty deep on Gore today, but I would have a lean on the over for this one. I would have a lean on the over. I do also want to see who the umpire is, especially because Philly is a team that doesn't take a lot in the zone. Oh yeah, I know you're talking about Freddie Peralta. All right. Hope that helped. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you all for being here. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to Daily Bread Network. We really do appreciate that. And please make sure to like the video. Please make sure to like it on X. We appreciate the love. We appreciate everything with you guys. Last few looks, and these are just leans for me. If you wanted plus money line of the day that I am looking at pretty hard is the Padres. Plus 110 being dogs at home with Pivetta on the mound. So when I can get plus money in that situation, I'm interested in it. And then the only other plus money, if you wanted more action for today was I think that the Blue Jays patience and I think that the Blue Jays contact can get them through Garrett Crochet today. I don't really have a huge take on his strikeouts. I think the line is pretty well set, but when you're giving me plus 123, Bowden Francis is a better pitcher than you might think. He's certainly not Garrett Crochet level, but I think that the Blue Jays can do a good job with a lot of their contact metrics and a few of their guys that are actually pretty patient and can burn through Crochet to get to the pen. So Blue Jays at plus 123 is of interest to me as well. I talked about how whenever I look at doing MLB money lines, it's always plus money. Very, very rarely, if ever, do I look to take a dog. And then for the rest of it, out in Cleveland tonight, I am looking at an over or a Guardians team total over. I'm sorry. I mean, I know he plays for my team, but Chris Paddock is just, Chris Paddock just ain't it. I mean, he tries hard. He really does. And he does pitch his ass off. But with as disciplined as some of the Guardians hitters are, this is an overlook for me. Over 8.5, or if you think that the Twins used all their runs up last night, then you can just look at isolating it to the Guardians team total over. So those are the other looks I had. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. Thank you for all the comments and all the looks. I appreciate you guys. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Best of luck if tailing. We'll see you tomorrow.